evening, and wherever you're watching in the world, welcome to the opening round of F1 Esports Series Challengers here on the streets of Vietnam as we take you through 16 of the quickest drivers we found on PS4, let them loose and see who manages to finish out there on top. Remember, only 6 of these drivers over the next 5 months will progress to the next round, so every point is crucial, every performance is critical. And of course, we couldn't have such an event like this without someone who's been with F1 Esports for a long time. It is, of course, the Sergio Perez biggest fan, always been a Red Bull fan in his entire life. It's Justin Sutton. Justin, how are you tonight?
I am doing fantastic, Kieran. I am so ready for this. I am absolutely pumped. F1 Esports is back. I'm back along with it, and I couldn't be more excited. It's been a great month for me already, as you just kind of alluded to. But yeah, things get even better, and it all kicks off on the PS4 side today.
Absolutely, and we take you to the street circuit here. 23 corners await us at the Hanoi Street Circuit, and of course it brings us this ultimate street circuit where you really need to have the setup nailed down to a T, really, don't you, Justin? There's lots of narrow corners. You can see here the sort of roundabout section. We've got to try and have the good amount of steering, good amount of grip there, but also one of the longest straights, or I should say one of the longest acceleration points on the entire circuit. Having a look at the playoff series PS4 lineup, then there you can see 10 of the drivers so far, and you can see which event they needed to qualify on. And some names we recognize, Justin, some are brand new to this, but all of them will be eager to get started and get out there for this first part of this new journey for them.
Yeah, it's going to be a long, difficult journey for them, as we've seen, dating all the way back to 2017 is when this all first started. And we've seen how difficult it can be. Some seasons have been longer than others. This isn't, I don't think, the longest season. Certainly not the shortest either for the F1 Esports Series Challengers, but it's going to bring some unique challenges for these guys to have to overcome.
Yes, absolutely. And whether they were out there in a Mercedes or a McLaren, they've made it here out onto the first round of Challengers. And obviously, for the drivers, there's a bit of first night nerves. But you've been through this before, Justin. You've seen drivers come through the order. What does it take to get to that next stage?
So, I mean, it's going to take consistency, certainly, this season with the number of races that we have. You can't afford to have a bad day. But that's about it. That's really about it. If you have more than one bad day, you're gonna struggle in a big way. But you know, the teams are also looking for people that race maturely, that people that can fight back after having a difficult qualifying, that sort of thing. So you know, just because you're starting from the back or something like that doesn't mean your race is ruined. You got to put in the best performance you can every time.
Yeah, and that's got to be it. The teams will be looking for that consistency. If you have a bad race, how do you recover? Do you keep on the pace there? Looking at the circuit here, 5.6 kilometers takes us around 23 corners here in the streets of Vietnam. And you can see plenty of DRS zones, plenty of corners to get our teeth into. And to take you on a hot lap of it all, let's bring you over to that.
Hi, I'm Alex Harbon. I'm a racing driver for Aston Martin Red Bull Racing. I'm going to take you through the track in Vietnam. It's a new track for all of us, so I can only tell you from the simulator. But yeah, let's have a look. Okay, so starting the lap, we're going down into turn 1. A very slow, off-cambered-ish corner. Looks very tricky, looks hard to find your braking point, and sets it up nicely for turn 2, turn 3. This corner looks very tricky. It feels like you have to find a point at where you want to turn in. It's all blind, being a street track. And then you've got this very quick kink, trying to stay off the walls as much as possible. So going down a long straight now, a good place to overtake. It feels like a slow chicane, a little bit like Monza, I would say. So clipping the curbs, yes or no, we don't know yet until we drive the track for real. So now we're going down a super long straight, even longer than the previous one, around 1.6 kilometers. DRS open as well, so I think this will definitely be the place to overtake during the race. Into, I would say, one of the biggest stops on track, so it's of the year. We're going from huge speed into a first gear corner. Now it comes to the fun part, I would say, very technical, very mixed. So we go to a 90 right, followed by these really quick flowing corners with the walls each side. I think this will be very, take some time to build up, let's say that. And yeah, going through all the corners now. these right lefts, right, almost like Suzuka, but on the street. So that will be very fun. And then finally going to a slower left-hander, exiting towards the last corner. And it's very committed. Get as close to the walls as you can, make it look good on camera. And yeah, that's a lap of Hanoi.
And of course, a nice lap there. Obviously, with a street circuit that hasn't been driven on in real life, Justin, it almost makes it a little bit more challenging for the drivers tonight. Throw them into the deep end at a track we haven't even raced on in real life and see what happens. I mean, that couldn't be more of a challenge if we tried.
I definitely get lost around there. You know, I really need to see a full real life Grand Prix in order to like really immerse myself into a circuit. And it's just it's super weird that we're kicking off with a track that nobody has raced at in real life, but it does make things very interesting though, and it means things are very level for these drivers as well. Experience won't play as much of a role at such a new circuit.
Yeah, and as we've already seen, you'll allude to in the Pro Series, if you've seen it earlier on this year, you'll have seen a great move between Nicolas Longuet and David Tonitza. But we see a similar move going down towards that very, very heavy braking zone at turn 11, Justin.
I think it's very likely. I mean, you have an incredible amount of braking being done at that hairpin and slowing right down as well. We were even talking about it a little bit during the hot lap there. I mean, it's absolutely incredible how hard you're going onto the brakes there at that turn 11 hairpin. So I'm expecting there's going to be at least one incident there. Certainly overtakes. I mean, that's certainly very possible and likely and all that kind of stuff. But I think it's very likely that we'll see an incident there at some point during this week.
Yeah, and it's one of those street circuits where you've got to try and build up the balance between having enough grip through that high-speed S section where you're trying to find all the grip out there, but then going down that long straight that isn't quite a straight all the way down towards turn 11. I'm with Matthias here. I'm really looking forward to getting started just commentating this season.
You know, I gotta say, it's really interesting. Turns 14 through 21 almost looks like what the drivers do to keep the tires warm when they're on, behind safety cars, something like that. It's left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right for so long through there. But it really does make things interesting, and a lot of it is flat out, but not always and not in all conditions, which makes things very interesting. So, yeah, I'm really looking forward to see what these drivers do. And full disclosure to the viewers, we've had a little bit of a peek at what these drivers have to offer, and this is a seriously high-class group of drivers, and I am especially excited to see what they do in Vietnam.
Yes, me too. And the fact of the matter is that it is going to be one of those circuits you need to keep your front wing for. That is critical around a circuit like this. But when you come to the pit lane, when we're talking about the shortened pit lane, 17 seconds roundabout is all that it takes to get through this pit lane for a pit stop. So really, you're going to be looking at the earliest opportunity to get in and change those tyres and get onto a fresh set of tyres towards the first few laps of this race. You join us then in qualifying then as the cars are heading way out onto the track then. And we've got Klasani making his way, getting right up and close and personal with the wall there, heading across the line to start a flying lap as he now brakes hard in towards turn 1, making our way through here. It's sort of a snaking section here. Now the drivers have been warned about that little bit of track limits on the left hand side there, so they've got to try and adhere to that as much as possible. But they're racing drivers, they're going to try and push the envelope as much as possible.
Yeah, it really is about getting a banker lap in, especially because this is the only qualifying session, just for anybody who at home who is unfamiliar with the format and how things are going to work. But taking a lot of inside curb there is Klasani, and we got the yellow flag out actually in Sector 3. I'm not sure who that's for, but there are a lot of cars out on track. In fact, everybody is out on track. Nobody in the pits at the moment. But yeah, there's less than 15 minutes left, and then this will determine how they start the race.
Yeah, and this DRS zone right here, heading our way down towards turn 11, it starts around about halfway down the straight. You pick up so much speed, and then you're having to brake all the way down to one of the slowest parts of this circuit. It's a huge demand for those brakes, and a huge demand for that aero to slow you down in time. Now heading our way in towards turns 13, and then it's a bit of an S section from here through 14, 15, 16. You get the idea. All the way up towards turns 21, but this really does demand so much from the aerodynamics of the car.
It really does. It's like you said, this is a circuit where you want both things. You want that downforce. You want to feel that confidence through that S section, through Sector 3. But at the same time, you need that top-end speed for the run down towards Turn 11 and the run down towards Turn 6 and the run down towards Turn 1 as well, as Clasani is the first to put a time on the board. We'll see if he remains P1 as the times start to come in. Domi is a name that certainly I'm familiar with, having seen in previous years in F1 Esports, driving the Haas today. And Matthias actually shooting up quickest, 132.150, finding a couple of tenths on Clasani, but he's still hanging on to second position with 4 times on the board now.
And still plenty of time left in this session to go for drivers to get their lap time on the board as we ride on board with Domi here as he makes his way in the Haas through this snaking S section as he tries to make his way through. Yellow flags in Sector 1 there as we just stay on board with Domi as he tries to ride that curve. And that's going to be important, isn't it? Trying to make sure you use as much of the track as possible with the least amount of penalty. And that does include invalidating your lap time. Through the final corner, through turn 23, getting nice up and close and personal with that wall as Domi goes 4th fastest onto the second row of the grid, 32.4. Fastest time so far is Matthias, 32.1.
Timon getting very close, though, 32.167. So I can't say I'm too surprised to see how close these guys are getting in this qualifying session. We do expect it's going to be very, very tight. This isn't the shortest of laps, though, at over 90 seconds long, so that is going to increase the gap ever so slightly. But we do expect it to be very close, and that's proving the point right there with only 17 1,000ths separating them. And then, like you said, Domi going 4th fastest, right in that area where the IGK drivers apparently like to be, which is just outside the podium positions, but well inside the top 10. As we've got 4 IGK drivers representing themselves 4th through 7th.
They've set up camp there, aren't they? But I don't think they'll be happy with 4th through 7th. They'll be wanting to push even higher in this qualifying session. And again, they've got 12 minutes to do so. Still expecting a lap time from Aero, from Vasta Racer, Dario, Name Changer, and Schumacher on the board. No, not that one. But we've got 11 drivers all on the board here at the moment. And separating them so far, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, Justin, it's around about 7/10 of a second. That's mightily close so far, and I have a feeling everything's just going to be a bit of squished up more as time goes by, as we see Dario Yemelo making his way now in towards these final couple of corners through turn 22, and then we get towards turn 23. This will be starting a flying lap as we ride on board with him. DRS wide open as we make our way down towards turn 1, and it's such a tricky section, this one, isn't it, Justin? It's a turn to the left, more than 90 degrees through the corner, then you're having to be gentle and careful with the throttle all the way through. You don't want to spin up the tyres here as we now make our way in through the 2nd, 3rd and 4th turn as you just basically loop back on yourself, getting your way onto that back straight. That's a tough part of the circuit.
Yeah, I mean, it just feels like that corner goes on and on. Well, those corners, it's actually 2 and 3, but it just feels like it goes on and on. Similarly, 7 and 8, which we're making our way through now on board with Dario still. Yeah, it just feels like it goes on and on. It's one of those corners, it's like Luffield at Silverstone. You're just holding that wheel for so long, waiting to get on the power. It is a larger radius corner, I believe, compared to Luffield. So you do carry a little bit more speed through it, which adds a little bit of excitement. And also the barriers not being far away always adds a bit of spice as well. But yeah, it's not the only corner like that. Like I said, 7 and 8 as well, very similar sort of feeling. But then towards the end of the lap, it's very quick, very high speed, and lots of change of direction, which I love.
Yes, and you can see there Yemelo is doing it really well at the moment. These quick changes of direction, asking everything from the aerodynamics and asking everything of the driver to be as smooth as possible through that section. You can see just through turn 21 there, a couple of bites of the cherry to the left-hand side as he tries to get that car steered into the corner. Just over 10 minutes to go, then flicking the car through 23 and onwards towards that start-finish line. And Yemelo goes 3rd fastest, 32.168 from Dario. And that puts him firmly onto the 2nd row of the grid. Less than 10 minutes to go. Matthias still leading the way, though, on that 32.153, I believe it is. And, yeah, still plenty of time for drivers to get a lap time on the board, as I believe that's Vasta Race who's just put it into 5th place there, 32.4, as we're seeing drivers now making their way out onto their outlaps and possibly going for that 2nd run. And we're expecting, Justin, about 2 or 3 runs. 3 runs is probably going to be the maximum for these drivers.
Yeah, if Certainly, I would be looking to do 3 runs. You don't have that banker lap when you only run 2 laps in qualifying, and what these guys need, especially in this opening round, what they need is early confidence. They need a solid result here, especially if they're new. They're just going to be looking to have a clean, successful day, something they can build on. Because this is a season, they want that momentum. You know what I mean? It's not just one race and it determines who's in the draft. The top 8 go through or something like that. No. This is a full season, many races, multiple races anyway. So yeah, what I would be looking for if I were coaching one of these guys, for example, what I would be telling them, keep your head down. Don't try to be a hero. Let's build the momentum, get a good result. And, hopefully as well, the result will come as well. Hopefully you'll win the race. But that necessarily shouldn't be the goal in this first race, again, especially for the rookies, I'd say.
Yeah, and that's going to be important, isn't it? Trying to get a good start, trying to just get some points on the board and see how the rest of the season goes. As well as that, qualifying here is tricky. Not only is the track demanding from the get-go, but also trying to give way to traffic is a nightmare around here. Really, the only places you can do it, down in towards turn 11, where you can pull the car all the way over to the left-hand side. But then again, if you pull over to the left-hand side a bit too far and a bit too far down the straight towards 11, you might get onto that apex. Then you've got that high-speed S section. You've got no chance of letting anybody by there. So in effect, you've got to try and get yourself a penalty by making sure you stay out of everybody's way if you're not on a lap.
Yeah, it can definitely be difficult, and we will have the track map up at times, but we do also have access to it with our multiple screens and our vantage points and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, I can tell you everybody's doing a great job so far. Usually also, just for anybody who might be new to F1 Esports or the Challengers, when you see the yellow flag, oftentimes that is somebody just slowing right down, getting nicely out of the way of somebody who is on a quick lap. These guys, they want to treat each other as they want to be treated and that sort of thing. And you're going to be racing with these guys for a long time. Certainly you don't want to come in and introduce yourself as somebody who gets in the way in qualifying.
Yeah, it's all about learning who you're racing against this season. And Domi has gone fastest then. So Domenico Lavecce has gone to the top of the table. Still a 32.1, but quicker than the man we're on board with right now, Matthias Van Erven, as he makes his way now in towards the penultimate corner, slowing the car right down, up a gear to reduce that wheel spin. Now we head our way through turn 23. Timon goes fastest, 31.8. Matthias, well, he doesn't go quicker, actually, 32.150. But how about that for a lap time? Then first person then into the 131s. It is Timon Shooter who puts it onto provisional pole position.
Yeah, and of course there is track evolution, just like in real Formula One. The track is going to continue to get marginally quicker as the session goes on, as these guys continue to put more and more rubber down on the circuit. Those times will, of course, come down. And we saw it from Domi. He found, I want to say it was 0.3, if I'm not mistaken. I think he was in the 0.4s or 0.3s maybe. So it was 2 or 0.3, something like that. Again, these are the second runs. Domi did put in a banker lap. And those tend to be safe as well. So, that's oftentimes where you're seeing the lap time difference as well. Matthias, who we're on board with right now, I think maybe he invalidated that lap. I'm not entirely sure. It seemed like it was pretty quick. And again, with track evolution and all that kind of stuff, you would expect his time to be quicker. Maybe he just wants to have a little race with Timon here.
I think so. Maybe this is a preview for what's to come. But Timon makes sure he moves the left-hand side there. Matthias drives through as we now cut to a McLaren. This is Schumacher as he makes his way through the final couple of corners, and this is Marcel Olstadt making his way on towards that start-finish line, 15th fastest right now as he gets onto a new flying lap now, 32.8. That's pretty quick for me. But for Marcel, he'll want to get even higher up the order because a second covers the entire field right now. Still yet to have a lap time from name changer there. That's Vila Hamalainen. We're still yet to see the Finnish driver put a lap time on the board, but he's out there on a flying lap right now.
Yeah, that's not ideal. Again, confidence is really the word that I was talking about before. That's why I really think it's important to get a banker in. It doesn't matter if it's a 32.8 like he just put in, or like Schumacher put in. That doesn't matter. Just get a time on the board nice and early so you're safe, so that you don't look silly or anything like that as well too. Because that's what happens. If you have one guy that didn't set a time during the entire session, it looks a bit odd to the teams who are watching, who are going to be at the pro draft picking their drivers for the 2021 Pro Series. You don't need that, especially coming in right away. Just get a time on the board and then start to build on that. You got 3 attempts, as we kind of alluded to earlier. You got 3 attempts in a perfect world. Just get one of those in. Just any old lap will do, essentially. Don't invalidate it. Push a little bit, and try to be competitive for the next one after that. And then for the last one, you just go all out.
Yeah, absolutely. As Marcel comes into the pits then, so obviously not too happy with that lap time. I mean, his first F1 game all the way back in the 90s, F1 97. That was on the PlayStation 1 all that time ago. But yeah, the reason for his Schumacher name is obviously pretty clear if you're not familiar already with the name of Michael Schumacher. His goal is to collect as many points as possible to have clean races and hopefully take that next step towards the Pro Series. There you can see Vila Hammerleinen, also known as Name Changer, 32.899. And as you said, Justin, looking to just get that little bit of a banker lap on board and see what his performance can do, because I don't know, I'm not an F1 Esports quality driver. However, I have done races in the past where sometimes that just little bit of green delta in that top right hand corner, or wherever you place it now on the screen, just gives you that extra bit of motivation. Maybe that's the strategy.
Yeah, carrot on the stick effect, absolutely. And, that's exactly the kind of sort of basic stuff. It seems basic, it seems fundamental, but, you don't want to lose your fundamentals when you're getting to this level. Because, I mean, this is, I would, for a lot of these guys, this is, the highest level of competition that they have possibly ever faced, ever in their sim racing career. This is always the highlight for me in terms of the quality of drivers that we see and stuff like that. But we are getting now into crunch time, by the way. Just under 2.5 minutes to go in this qualifying session. Again, an outlap, you're looking at, somewhere between a minute 40 and a minute 50, depending on how much traffic you run to and how many cars coming up behind you run into, all of that kind of stuff. So you can see the majority of the cars are already out on their outlap, but we still got a handful of guys still in the pits. They're going to be coming out any second now, though.
They are indeed, and as you can see, most of them on their outlap. 3 drivers still in the pit lane. Vasta Racer, we've also got Schumacher and Name Changer all in the pitsters. Simo is the first of this lot to start the final lap of the session. Just a minute and 50 on the clock. We've already seen it takes more than 90 seconds to do a flying lap around here, so it takes slightly longer to do the outlap as well. Schumacher's got to get out of that pit lane, so too has Vasta Racer, otherwise they're going to miss the cut.
Yeah, these guys, like you said, they're in real danger if they don't get out quickly. Vasta Racer appears to still be in the pits. Now, it does continue to say that as you're traveling down the pits. I mean, he could maybe cut some corners, but with all the barriers and stuff, I think that might be his session over. We're on board with Domi, currently sits in second position at 132.122, a pretty significant gap, though, to Timon up ahead. It's over a tenth and a half, in fact, to that Mercedes. In fact, it's over 0.2 to that Mercedes, so it's a pretty big gap at the moment, but Domi is going to be looking to eliminate that and then some, because, of course, Timon is going to be looking to go quicker, too, on his final lap in this qualifying session.
And so too is Matthias and Vasta Racer, and you get the idea. But we're on board with Domenico Lavecce as he makes his way now down this long straight that isn't a straight, because you've got turn 10 right in the middle here to try and give you that challenge. Try and keep the steering as light as possible to the right-hand side so you don't scrub off that speed as you make your way then down towards the braking zone at turn 11. Boss then making his way in through turn 1 and trying to make sure you have the grip all the way through, being very careful not to spin up those rear tyres. So easy to do in that second and third corner, and then you try and use the curb there to your advantage through 4 and 5, and then upwards we go towards turn 6 and towards that roundabout section where you just turn back on yourself, almost like you're trying to do a U-turn. Now in towards turn 6 through turn 7, bit of a lock up on the exit through 6, and now we go round the long left-hander. It feels like it goes on forever, this one, but Timon goes top of the standings then. 31.7 from Timon puts him at the top of the table. Domi comes across the line, 31.8. We're on board then with Diego Rossi as he opens up the DRS, now flying our way down towards turn 11, and it's all about trying to pick out your braking point from here. Checker flag is out then in this session as Vasta Racer retires. He cannot set a faster lap time. Dario setting a 132.168 puts him 7th place. Alvaro in 14th there. Can't improve on that one. Klasani now 32.0 does improve, goes 4th quickest. Javi Vera, meanwhile, where did that lap time come from? 31.8 puts him onto the front row of the grid there. So he's looking and sitting pretty at the moment as the order all changes around. Nardi up the standings now. He's up into 4th place. We're waiting now. Is there going to be another lap from Timon? I think Domi will have finished his lap time. But what about Matthias? 9th fastest right now. How it can all change quickly. He's on a flying lap right now as he makes his way now upwards. We go towards the final couple of corners as we head our way through turn 30. Now it's all about the S section. Keep your foot in wherever you can and hope that the aero can carry you through. It's a constant left, right. It goes on forever, but eventually you reach the end as we make our way through. But I don't think he's on a lap time. No, he's not. He comes in towards the pit lane then. Matthias will be starting further down the order than maybe we expected. So the only lap times out there right now, Timon, we don't think is on a lap time. Schumacher, though, hasn't got any sort of logo next to his name, so we'll assume he is on some sort of lap, as we had a Red Bull day with no front wing whatsoever. But at this moment in time then, yeah, Schumacher goes 14th fastest. That's the end of qualifying then, and Timon grabs the first pole position of Challengers with a great lap time, 31.7.
It's actually a bigger gap than I expected between first and second. It tightens right up after that with 15 thousandths between Javi Vera and Domi. So you can see very, very close. But yeah, it's actually over a tenth to Timon. And yeah, I'm surprised about that. We knew Timon was going to be near the top. That I'm not surprised about. As you mentioned, though, CRT Matthias down in 9th position. That is a bit of a surprise. He's sort of in one of the worst positions where you have to start on those tires, but you're pretty far from the front as well. So, of course, we only have 6 cars that will be starting from the front, or that will be starting this race with free use of tires. The rest of the 10 are going to have to use the tires that they qualified on. So, yeah, it's not ideal from 9th position, but yeah, that is pretty surprising from Timon. Again, over a tenth of a second is bigger than I expected.
And he grabs the first pole position of this season. And it's Timon Shooter who is on pole position. Javi Vera there in 2nd place. Then it's Dobby 3rd, Nardi in 4th, Klasani in 5th, Aero 6th, Zach in 7th, Simo in 8th, Matthias in 9th, and Vasta Racer rounds out the top 10. So all of those drivers will have to start on a U set of the tyres that they set their fastest lap time in qualifying. For all of them, it's the soft tyres. Dario then is in 11th place, as we see then Gil in 12th, Boss in 13th, Schumacher 14th, Alvaro in 15th, and Name Changer in 16th place. All separated, the drivers, by less than a second. All those starting outside of that top 10, so 11th down to 16th, can start on a fresh set of whatever tyres they want. And we're expecting in a 25% race, Justin, that's probably going to be the medium tyres.
Yeah, you would expect so. It's 25% distance race. It's looking like clear skies as well. For those that are new, this is our first opportunity to get an idea of what the weather has in store for us whenever we get this pit lane shot as we're preparing to go racing. And yeah, it looks like it is going to be clear skies. We're not going to have the warm-up lap, though. We're going to be going straight into the race, right, Kieran?
Yeah, that's right. I got caught out in this with pre-season testing, but we are going straight into the race. So here we are then at the Vietnamese Grand Prix, ready to get ourselves underway here for F1 Esports Series Challengers. 16 challenges here on the PlayStation 4, all ready to do battle around one of the tightest and toughest circuits we have coming up on the calendar, and it all gets underway very, very soon. Hopefully you're enjoying the action so far. Unfortunately, you're stuck with myself and Justin for the rest of the series, so good luck if you are enjoying it, because that means you get to enjoy us even more. But here we go then, not long left to go to start this Challengers as we head our way now onto the grid, waiting now for those 5 red lights to count up in Vietnam. It is 5 red lights. We're racing in Hanoi. What are the starts like? Good start from Timon. Good start as well from Javi Vera as we now pile our way now down in towards turn 1. You see there Timon having to defend the inside line, but Javi Vera's got the inside line. In towards turn 1 we go. Can Javi Vera now try and loop it round the outside? Timon's got the inside line now as we head our way in through turn 3. Timon just about grabs that race lead, riding on board with Domi. He saw that move perfectly. Javi Vera then, after a good start, has to hold on to 2nd place for now. Domi meanwhile making his way up towards turn 6. Surely not a move up the inside on the cards here on lap 1. He's certainly going to think about it, but has to back out of it eventually. Nardi making his way through. Matthias is making his way up the order. He's now up to 7th place. He's just got past at the racing point of Aero. He's on a mission, Justin. He's on a charge.
That's incredible to make up a couple of positions that quickly, especially when you have a field as tight as this, as they all just accelerate down, actually sounding fantastic with the sound reverberating off of the walls of this street circuit. Again, Falconardi in that same fourth place position that he started in. I got to say, Timon, though, with the fantastic start. Oh, got some contact going on in the background there. The racing point with the inside line, though, at the hairpin is going to get the better of the Alfa Romeo there.
Absolutely, as we see here, this is Simo right on the back of Giel as we now make our way in through the right-hander there of turn 13, making our way now in towards this S section. Something we haven't discussed before, Justin, dirty air. This is where it's really going to affect you, especially 3 or 4 laps on those soft tyres.
Oh yeah, it's going to be difficult for these guys, and especially with no DRS right now. It's going to be more difficult to try and keep up with the car ahead. Of course, you will pick up a bit of a slipstream effect, which is beneficial. But Timon still holding on to the lead, but not breaking away. You can see it's just over half a second between himself and the Red Bull of Javi Vera in the meantime as we start lap number 2. Still no DRS just yet, but Timon seems to have things under control. Again, I don't know what his strategy is. I don't know if he's trying to break away at the moment, but that gap is starting to get marginally bigger. So he might be using a little bit more battery, try and get that Red Bull out of his DRS range.
So Timon leading the way then, Javi Vera in second place with Don Mead rounding out the top 3. Then it's Nadi you're watching here, making his way through now on towards the long straight, down towards turn 11. Klasani in 5th. Zach has made his way up to 6th place. Matthias 2 places up from his original starting position. He's now into 7th place. Aero lost a couple of positions off the start. Vasteres through 9th and Giel rounding out the top 10. Worth noting, he's the highest runner on the fresh set of medium tyres. So watch out for him in the race. He'll be looking for the alternate strategy. He's got ahead of Simo, who is on the soft tyres. So he had to start on those soft tyres to try and get his way up there. He started 8th place in this race. He's fallen down to 11th, and that's the last thing you wanted, to be stuck behind someone on the medium tyres, Justin.
Yeah, that's really, really not ideal. He's going to be looking to make that overtake as soon as possible. Certainly once the DRS is activated. On board with Dario, one of those medium starters who is running just behind Simo's, and similarly, he's going to be looking to try and keep up with the car ahead in order to pick up that DRS and just try to give himself a little bit of extra lap time. Or reduced lap time, I don't know, depending on how you want to say that. But he wants to help himself out a little bit with that DRS if he can. Oh, his Vaster Racer is into the pits already. That is a very early pit stop. Again, it's only 14 laps. It is a 25% distance race, so that's not necessarily the end of the world for him, but certainly not ideal.
Yeah, and of course, around 17 seconds we're looking at in that pit lane here in Vietnam. As we see then, Vaster Racer makes his way out of the pit lane. He's on the medium tyres, Justin. So is he looking to get those tyres to the end now?
I'm going to go ahead and say yes. He's going to be in clear air, which is, a bit of a benefit and a curse, because you won't be able to pick up any sort of DRS or slipstream or anything like that. But you don't get the dirty air through the S section of Sector 3. So it's going to be a tough one, but he could be looking to, this could be damage limitation for him here as Name Changer going side by side with Schumacher here as they get their way down towards the hairpin. But yeah, easy overtake. Is the McLaren going to come back at him? No, a very straightforward overtake there, completed before they even got into the braking zone.
Yeah, and Name Changer moves up a position, up to 13th place for the Finnish driver as he makes his way now in towards turn 13. His next target will be Boss directly ahead of him as we now make our way through the S section as we're on to lap number 3 now. Timon leads the way from Javi Vera. Domi is still in 3rd place. So Klasani is into the pits. So too is Zach, and Aero in as well. So they're really trying the undercut attempt. There's Vaster Racer. Keep an eye on him then as he now makes his way through this S section. Very early stop to come in to put on those medium tyres. Might have to watch out for those tyres towards the end of the race, considering how much load they have to be put through in the last part of this lap. But let's see if he can get any positions up there. Meanwhile, that was Name Changer under pressure from Schumacher as we made our way towards turn 1, but Schumacher couldn't quite find that move down the inside that he wanted. The door was firmly shut there. So the order gets a little bit shuffled around with drivers coming into the pits, and as you can see there, just going through the standings, of course, the pit lane here really comes out and launches you in towards the outside of turn 3, Justin.
Yeah, it's interesting how it works as far as the entrance and the exit of the pit lane. Actually, here it's a unique one. By the way, Vasta Racer, just because I was super interested to see how that was going to play out in the Ferrari, still in 16th position, but within DRS range of the Racing Point of Arrow from Shizou. So yeah, he's not out of it just yet, and then it's less than 2 seconds to the next car up the road. So. Again, not an ideal strategy. I would not be looking to do that many laps on a set of tires here in Vietnam. But, hey, if he can make it work, that's really going to look good to the teams. I mentioned that before. Damage limitation. Teams are going to be looking for that sort of thing. It's not about just lights to flag finishes. It's also about recovering from a lap 1 incident.
Yes, absolutely right. And those are the sorts of things teams will be looking for. Nardi is into the pits then as he makes his way in. So too is the car ahead of Gil. That was Simo making his way now in towards the pit lane as we ride on board with Gil then making his way through the final corner. And with that wall on the right-hand side, Guillaume de Runia making his way on towards turn number 1. But lap 5 here, we're still expecting the top 4 to pit in from their soft tyres. That's Timon, Javi Vera, Domi and Matthias. And lap 5, lap 6 is sort of the lap I was expecting soft tyre runners to pit in.
Yeah. Interestingly, I mean, of course, Timon in the Mercedes leading the way has had 0 dirty air effect and is in a prime position to try to save those tires and eke them out. It's very possible that he's actually, taking it easy through the corners, kind of backing up Javi Vera, taking care of those tires, and then saving a little bit of rubber for that final lap of the stint, and just actually overcutting to build the gap that he needs in order to break the DRS to the Red Bull behind him. And that certainly, for me personally anyway, that's the kind of high-level thinking in the middle of a race that I am looking for in a driver, no doubt about it. As we see Dario up the road, just up the road from Boss here, getting past Guile in the Racing Point. Another fairly straightforward overtake heading into that heavy braking zone, once again making the move before they even get to the brakes.
Yeah, and that's that huge advantage with the DRS heading down towards turn 11. I have to say, Gil did not make that move easy, but Dario didn't care. He got the move done, moves now up into 5th place as we're riding on board now with the heart of Boss as we now make our way through this S section, just trying to make sure that the tyres do grip in as we head our way through 21, now onwards towards 22, and then towards the final corner in turn 23 with that wall on the right-hand side, very inviting to try and get as close to it as you possibly can as we make our way across the start-finish line. But there you can see the top runners in the pit lane. Then Domi, Javi Vera, Timon and Matthias all into the pit lane on the soft tyres they started on. That leaves Dario, Gil, Boss, Name Changer, Schumacher and Alvaro all out there. I believe they're all yet to make a stop in this race as we ride on board with the Racing Point of Gil as he now makes his way down the sort of it's not quite a back straight, is it? But it's sort of making our way up towards that roundabout section as we head our way in towards turn 6, almost half race distance. Don't worry if you're feeling this race is going to by very quickly. Don't worry, I've got some great news. We've got another one straight afterwards. Meanwhile then, Boss gets a little bit wayward going through the roundabout section on the back of Gil then as we have our first 3-second time penalty. It's to Nardi for multiple warnings, assuming that will be for multiple track limits. Is there an opportunity for Boss here to have a go at Gil? Making our way now down towards turn 11 we go. The Haas looks to the left-hand side, breezes past that Racing Point then, still got the inside line, got his braking point absolutely spot on, and he moves now up into what is right now 2nd place.
That's got to be frustrating for Gil in the Racing Point. Just keeps getting overtaken at the same point. At least that time they were still side by side in the braking zone, so he could feel a little bit better about that. But I don't know if he's just running higher downforce. And look at the understeer and the dirty air effect that he's picking up. Great onboard through that section. You can see the heaps of time that he is losing as he does come into the pits at the end of lap 6. Now that's interesting. He's going to be doing an 8-lap stint, presumably on a set of soft compound tires. It would be very strange to me if he went onto a set of the hards, because yeah, I don't think that would be an ideal strategy. But it'll be he is going to be the first of the alternate strategy people to come into the pits, and that's going to allow some more overtaking, some people to move up. Pit window is open now, as you can see, for those medium runners, of which there are still some more up at the front. It is Dario and Boss actually.
Yeah, and there you can see Gil, Name Changer, Schumacher and Alvaro all into the pit lane. And then you could see the red on the walls of the tyre there indicating they've all picked the soft tyre to run the last 8 laps of this race. That's a heck of a task for these tyres to live up to. But with less fuel on board, they'll be hoping that they can keep the tyres up to temperature and making sure that they don't wear them out too much. You don't ever underestimate the amount of time and effort that goes into the setups and the strategy as well to make sure they are on the fastest strategy possible. Matthias here is on the back of Aero. He's got a little bit of DRS, but unfortunately for him, so too will the Racing Point up ahead. But look at this closing rate of speed we've got here, riding on board with Matthias. Is he going to look for a move up the inside of the Racing Point? You bet he is. Leaves his braking late now in towards turn 11, and he gets that move done. Matthias' charge continues.
Impressive stuff. I didn't think he was going to get there, actually. The closing speed was pretty good, but I thought he was going to run out of road before actually getting alongside. But he made it work. Matthias proving that he is a good overtaker. Again, he was the one that made up those positions early in the race, too, on lap 1. Which is an impressive skill to display for the teams, no doubt about it. I was doing some quick maths there while you were having a look at that battle, and I believe that penalty for Nardi is going to be worth. Oh, now things have changed a little bit. It's going to be worth many championship points. It's quite tight behind him. Zach, Domi, Matthias, and Aero, I believe, and Aero would all overtake him. So yeah, that's going from 12 championship points right down to 4. So that penalty is worth 8 points. That is pretty brutal to have to deal with.
It really is, and that's really not what you want in challenges when the field is so tightly packed like this. You do not want a 3-second time penalty that will catapult you down the order as quickly as you manage to get up there. Nardi here with that penalty. Well, he's under pressure from Zach so far as we make our way now down the longest part of the circuit. You're on that throttle pedal 4. You're just keeping it mashed to the floor and hopefully have the aerodynamics to keep you in that straight line as quickly as possible. There goes Nardi though, switches to the left-hand side with that DRS and again breezes past that Alfa Romeo. It's easy to get the move done, but you've got to spot your braking point with the increased speed with your DRS. Many a driver, including myself, have been caught out by turn 11 there.
I am surprised that he actually managed to make that work. That was impressive stuff, but he moves himself up into 3rd, at least on track. Again, he's got that penalty, which has got to be so frustrating. But he can look at the positives today. Even if that penalty does end up costing him a load of championship points, he can look back at that overtake. He can look back at himself running in the top 3 and know that he's on the pace at least at one track. Yeah, at least at one track, he's on the pace of all the top guys. So definitely encouraging stuff for him. But yeah, he's got to clean it up, try to avoid that, because also, this has been one of the cleanest esports races I have ever seen. We are 8 laps completed, and there is 1 penalty? That's incredible.
Justin, your history of, what's it called again? Oh yeah, Curse the Commentator. It's not a great one, so I would try that, keep your mouth shut right now. Meanwhile then, we're watching on as Boss tries to make his way onto the back of this pack now. We've got 4 or 5 cars involved in this battle here, as I think that's Simo who's trying to shape up a move on the Frenchman Gil. But look at this, we're going 3 wide as we head our way down in towards turn 6. Somehow though, they all make it through. Name Changer has managed to take advantage of Simo. There goes Schumacher up the inside as we make our way through this double, triple left-hander, whatever you want to call it. That was a great move there. Somehow they all kept it facing the right way. Name Changer and Schumacher, the big winners in that. And Simo, who initiated the original move, fell back 2 places. He can try and get a couple of positions back here, at least one on Schumacher. But Schumacher is defending hard here. He has to defend to the inside now as we make our way in towards that turn 11 corner. All getting a little bit squashed and a little bit tight going through 11 and 12. Somehow, once again, they all make it through. Simo losing that back end on the exit of 12, losing another position to Boss. But Schumacher, well, he had to be hard to defend that one. But then again, he had Name Changer who was trying to move up the inside of Gil, so he had to take avoiding action of that one as well. Everyone managed to keep their nose clean somehow.
That was a real hornet's nest there. I really like the opportunistic move from Schumacher there, though, finding the inside line there through that corner, making that overtake. Great stuff as well from Boss to make, he identified an opportunity, he took it. Dario setting the quickest lap on that set of softs, dipping into the 134s actually for him. So that is a very nice lap for the Williams, currently sitting in ninth position. You can see he is the leading soft runner at the moment, currently just under 3 seconds to arrow up the road. After this lap is completed, there's going to be 4 laps still remaining in this race. It's going to be very interesting to see what he can do specifically, since he is the leading soft runner at this stage of the race. So, and look how tight it is as well in the lower half of the top 10. So I think Dario could do some serious damage in the closing stages of this race here.
He's got 2.9 seconds now to the next car, but as we all know, anything can happen in this one. Meanwhile, Zach is under pressure from Domi then as we make our way down towards turn 11. There you can see Zach is going to have to defend from this one. Domi's looking for an inside move in towards turn 11, but couldn't quite find that move up the inside and has to settle for 6th place at this moment in time. Zach did not make that easy, and with that Renault driving there, he's driving the widest Renault that Hanoi has seen so far. He did well to keep a hold of 5th place, and we do have a change of the lead in this race. Javi Vera is now leading here in Vietnam ahead of Timon, and we've got yellow flags somewhere in sector 3, whatever it was, they've been cleared up, and I hate to assume that's going to be Name Changer, who now finds himself down at the bottom of the field, but riding on board now with Domi as he tries to once again chase down Zach as we head our way down towards turn 1. 5 to go here in Vietnam.
Look at that, 8 cars all in a line as we start lap 11. Incredible stuff to see just how tight this is, which is, again, not good news for Falconardi, though, because that 3-second time penalty is looking more and more damaging as the race goes on. Meanwhile, Dario has managed to find a second. He's closed that gap down now. He's just flirting with getting it under 2 seconds now on those soft compound tires. Now, Name Changer becomes the next car to pick up a time penalty. You can see he's dropping off the back as well. I think he's maybe picked up some damage, and I think that might be why he's actually dropping to the back. Because, yeah, it's now over 3 seconds. That gap continues to get bigger. On board with Domi, he's going to be looking to go side-by-side with the Renault. You can see the DRS opening on the Renault as well as they go side-by-side down towards that heavy braking zone. But it looks like with that overspeed, the Haas manages to take the position fairly easily, and Zach manages to get it all slowed down and not slam into the back of the Haas.
A little bit of a love tap there, that's all I would say, but no damage to either car, and they can carry on. Well, we've got 4 laps to go, 3 and a bit if you're picky, and Zach is trying to get past Domi once again, but he's having a hard time now that Domi's passed him. He's going to have to try and keep up. Meanwhile, Javi Vera does lead this race then. Timon in 2nd place, Nardi in 3rd, but he's got that 3-second time penalty, which is looking even more damaging as the kilometres tick by. Klasani is first to try and take advantage of that one, running in 4th at the moment. Domi 5th, running on board with Zach as he makes his way through turn 23. Matthias right behind him, only 4 tenths down as we carry on through the order. Aero in 8th, Dario 9th, and Fast Racer rounding out the top 10 at this moment in time, braking hard now on board with the Renault, and Name Changer into the pit lane and retires from the race in the pit lane. So our first retirement of the race is Vila Hammerleinen, who calls it a day at this moment in time on lap 12, Justin.
That's unfortunate. That's unfortunate. He's not missing out on too much, especially because he was clearly losing time. It makes more sense to certainly stick it out if you're at least battling with people, just to get that comfort level and just to kind of learn each other. And you might learn a weakness about one of your competitors that you can use in a future time. But yeah, he was 3 seconds back from the pack and losing more and more time. Again, I think he probably had some front wing damage, end plate damage, something like that. I didn't see the incident personally, or I missed it if they showed it on screen. So I don't know exactly, but just judging by the amount of tenths that he was losing each lap, I'm going to assume that he picked up some damage. There was no chance for him to close it in. It would have taken an absolutely massive incident up at the front in order to move him into the points. But at a track like this that's so new and so tight, where one small mistake could absolutely collect a handful of cars, I probably would have kept going with it personally, but at the same time, I understand that frustration. As Alvaro Aznar Another veteran of the league actually picks up a 3-second time penalty. He's now in last, though, and another driver that seems to be struggling. I think he also has probably picked up some damage, just gauging on the strategy that he's on and the amount of time that he's losing and all that kind of stuff. So not another great day, but Alvaro Asnar, again, another, he's somebody that's been around the block. He's gonna be able to bounce back from that for sure.
Yeah, definitely. We're riding aboard then with Matthias van Erven as he now makes his way up towards turn 6 here as he's trying to find a way past Zach and qualify down in 9th place, further down than maybe we expected from Matthias, but it's all about recovery. This is what the teams will be looking for. How well can you do when the odds are stacked against you? At the moment, he's gained 2 positions from his qualifying position. Right now, though, look at Domi, who's got a good run on Klasani as we now make our way on towards turn 10 and then towards turn 11 once again. The heaviest braking zone has proven to be the best overtaking opportunity. As you can see there, the Alfa Romeo defends to the inside. That's going to be Domi, who has to go the long way round as we make our way now down in towards turn 11. You can see that the Alfa Romeo braking as late as possible. Domi will look to try and get him on the cutback here and gets the position done. Klasani tried to leave his braking late though, but Domi saw it coming, did the switchback, got the position. Job done.
And we've just gotten word that Guile is actually under investigation for causing a collision with Name Changer, which could also explain the damage, the potential damage that Name Changer may have had and the loss of pace. Ooh, as Arrow picks up a 3-second time penalty right at the end of the race. Thankfully for him, it is over 5 seconds, nearly 6 seconds down to Vasta Racer in 10th position, so it doesn't look like that's going to be a big problem for Arrow. But of course, what that means is if he ends up overtaking pretty much any of the cars ahead of him in this pack that we're on board with now, it's going to be for nothing. So that's unfortunate for Arrow. It's looking like 9th is going to be the best for him today. Oh, as Alvaro out of the race.
Yeah, it looks like he retired in the pit lane. He's decided to call it a day as well, down to 14 runners. So that means 2 drivers on penalty. Nardi and Aero, both of them I can confirm are 3 seconds as it stands. We're on to the final lap here in Vietnam. It is Timon who's taken back the lead, and all that drama, Timon has managed to slip back through into the lead of the race. Javi Vera is in 2nd place, Falcon Nardi in 3rd with Domi in 4th, but that will change positions left, right and centre. Gil here, who's under investigation at the moment, he'll just try and carry on as he gets a move up the inside there. We're going wheel to wheel, we're going side by side through turn 8, now through turn 9 with those walls precariously close. He's got to be careful because Simo might want to try and take advantage here. Schumacher is looking to defend. Now Gil is having to try and find other ways around. Schumacher's driving the widest McLaren in Hanoi. Here comes Gil, then a little bit of contact between the two of them as Schumacher desperately tries to hold on to that position, but there goes Simo. We're going 3 wide in towards turn 11. They've all come together, they've all sandwiched into each other. Simo manages to get the position though. Schumacher, he's squeezed him into the wall there. Gil has got to try and find this move up the inside. Schumacher defending aggressively in towards turn 13, and Gil gets the position, does he? Well, Schumacher has managed to get the launch, trying to find his way through once again. Schumacher holds on to that position somehow as Timon takes the win then. Javi Vera will take 2nd place. Domi finishes in 3rd place. We were so captivated by that drama for the battle of what is the wooden spoon. Who cares though? That was a great battle between the two of them. But there is your race winner in Timon there. He wins it. Had a bit of a battle there. We unfortunately didn't see it with Javi Vera, but so much was happening out on track. We didn't get a chance to. What the important thing for Timon will be is that he wins the first race of Challengers. Dario is awarded the driver of the day driving that Williams, but race winner Timon Shooter will score 25 points in his campaign. Round 1 out of 10 is complete, Justin. Well, if that first race is anything to go by, I'm looking forward to the rest of it.
Yeah, that was fantastic. That was absolutely fantastic. I love that Guile left the room through turn 9 as well. I respect that in a huge way, and I am now a big fan of his regardless of where he finished. Oh god, the most cursed image ever though, Enzo Benito in a Mercedes overalls. I don't like it. I don't like it one bit. I don't care if Timon knows about that, but I don't like it at all. But he deserves that win. He's been masterful ever since turn 1. He actually didn't take the inside line in turn 1, opting instead for the inside line at turn 2. And again, that's the kind of high-level thinking that I like to see in my racing driver.
Well, here are your official, unofficial results then for the first round of challenges. It is Time and Shooter who grabs the first race win of the season. Javier Perez in second place. And then it is Domenico Lavecchi rounding out the top three. To take you through the rest of the order then, Klasani in fourth, Zach in fifth, Matthias sixth, Nardi in seventh place. That penalty really didn't cost him towards the end. Dario in eighth, Aero in ninth, and Vasta Racer rounding out the top 10. Don't forget as well, Dario picked up the fastest lap of the race, a 34.9. And just got a brief view of who was finishing outside of the top 10. But if you think that's over, you haven't seen anything yet. We've got one more race to bring you. We've got one more one-shot qualifying to bring you. And Justin, we're heading to China.
Yeah, that's right. It's just a short hop, skip, and a jump over to the Shanghai International Circuit, which has one of my personal favorites when it comes to corners in Sector 2, the high-speed left then right. Is one of my absolute favorites. I love high-speed change of direction. I love high-speed corners. It's fantastic. And I love the increasing and decreasing radius corners as well at Shanghai. It's such a unique feature of the circuit. I'm a big fan of it. But I think the real talking point here is that race we just saw at Vietnam. That was fantastic. And I think we're actually going to be in for a treat here at China. It's probably going to be even better.
Yeah, well, China's much more of a permanent circuit, isn't it? Lots more open areas, and we've still got a long straight with DRS down towards a heavy braking zone. So, I mean, we've still got those great chances of overtakes as we head towards the Shanghai International Circuit. But lots of battling happening down the field, and is that showing the teams that sort of determination, even if it's just 1 point, even if it's for a place outside of the points, Justin?
Oh, yeah. You want to show the teams that you can go wheel to wheel. You want to show them that you're capable of battling, even if, Hanoi isn't your strength or something like that. You may not be having the best of days or whatever. You still want to act like a world championship driver all the time because the eyes are watching, and it's not just the viewers at home, it's the teams. That's, the part that I kind of keep coming back to, but it really is the most important part. They're the ones that pick the drivers, not the people at home. I mean, maybe one day, maybe they'll do a fan vote or something like that, but at the moment, no, that's not how it works.
Well, I have to talk as well about Matthias Van Erven there. Obviously, starting in 9th place, managed to battle his way up the field into 6th. I mean, not where we expected him to qualify, but my God, did he put on a performance at the end there.
Yeah, that definitely gets some eyes on you, when you have that kind of recovery. And again, that first lap as well, 2 of those 3 positions he gained straight away. And again, it's not the easiest of circuits to overtake, especially when you have a train of cars. We saw it can be easy when you get everything hooked up in terms of the overspeed on the car ahead coming out of 9 down towards 11 and that whole section. You can really just breeze by someone if you get it all hooked up, but that's really not the case when the car ahead of you is getting the DRS and stuff, and it made things very difficult for a lot of people. But Matthias, he showed that he can make overtakes even early on in that Hornet's Nest chaos.
Hornet's Nest chaos is, they say prepare for anything in commentary. I wasn't expecting Hornet's Nest to come up at any point in the series, but I suppose I'll have to prepare for that next time around, as won't be too long now before we're racing at the Chinese Grand Prix. But a couple more performances to pick out as well. Lavecchi, great drive from Domi, 3rd place in the end.
Yeah, good qualifying as well. Just a really solid result from him. And like I said, he's a veteran too. I remember seeing him in past years. I'm not going to even try to guess how many seasons he's done off the top of my head. I would end up embarrassing myself most likely as someone fact checks me. But definitely a veteran. I remember seeing him before and showing that he's got good pace over 1 lap, and he's got the maturity to complete the race to get that podium as well. So that's a big thing. Certainly highlights for me were Timon at turn 1. Again, I think he played that masterfully. He decided to be to the outside. He chose, I think he knew what he was going to be doing at the start of that race, even before qualifying. He said, right, I'm going to get pole, and then I'm going to take the outside line at turn 2, the inside line outside line at turn 1, inside line at turn 2, and then I'm just going to lead the race from there. And that's exactly what he did, which is really impressive. Schumacher going for that inside line, that opportunistic move. I really like that. And again, Guile leaving room at turn 8. It ended up not working out for him. He ended up finishing 14th or whatever. But I love that he left the room, didn't squeeze anybody out at turn 9 coming out of, that long 7 and 8 section. That really impressed me as well. Just the respect that we saw from the drivers was A+ stuff.
And obviously Dario Yemelo starting outside of the top 10, and you're thinking maybe he's going to try the alternate strategy there. Finished in the end in 8th place, got awarded the in-game fans driver of the day. Would you agree with those in-game fans, Justin?
He's certainly in the running, no doubt about that. I would definitely put him, as one of the top 3 or 4 to consider for driver of the day. Timon definitely is up there as well too. That was kind of masterful. He even did pull a gap at the end. He did manage to break that DRS gap at the end. He lost the lead for a little bit, but he didn't panic. He held on to the back of the car ahead, retook it, finished the race, had the gap behind as well too. And for all we know, he was managing the gap as well. And that's one of the benefits when you win with a 2-second lead or anything over 1 second. You could go on social media later and say, yeah, I was just managing the tires. I could have pulled out a couple more seconds.
Yeah, just easy as that. But what I have to say as well, we've seen already how the penalties, the in-game penalties, can be so damaging to your finishing position, considering the fact we saw Nadi Perez lose that podium position, fall all the way down to 7th.
Yeah, that's something that we have harped on in the past, no doubt about it. When it comes to penalties, you really got to be a clean driver. There's been almost zero situations, very, very, very few situations that we've seen a race winner with penalties in F1 Esports. It may have happened, but you could probably count them on one hand, if at all. It's a very, very uncommon thing. Race winners tend to be clean drivers, and that's something, again, that I've harped on year after year, but it's true. And it's a lesson that rookies sometimes have to learn in a trial by fire. They'll learn by the end of the season, getting penalties is turns out not a good idea. Yeah, they might figure that out, but sooner rather than later for the rookies definitely is going to help them.
Yeah, and first race out of the way for the PlayStation drivers at least. How does that go to just improving their confidence heading into the second round at China?
I mean, it's definitely going to help. It's going to get easier as it goes. And in some ways, PlayStation have it worse off because, of course, the Xbox guys, the PC guys, they can watch the PlayStation race and they can tune in, and see what is successful, see when people are pitting and when it works out for them and when it doesn't work out for them and all that kind of stuff. They can learn tricks and stuff, and we've seen that with previous years as well, that it can be beneficial actually to run second or third in the week. And these PlayStation guys are kind of, they're beta testing for you guys for the other platforms, which, when you have some retirements and stuff like that, it's easier to forgive when you go first in the week.
Well, I mean, they might go first, but they put on a heck of a display of
pace
going into that. Yeah, they're second covering the entire field in that qualifying session, I have to say. I liked it when you touched on Timon's strategy earlier on. I'm going to get pole. Yeah, that's what my plan would fall apart straight away, trying to grab pole. But I guess that's just me at the end of the day. One driver who went slightly under the radar in that race was Zach Isaac Hajar. I mean, he finished in 5th place, started 7th on the grid in that Renault. He drove a solid race. Yeah,
that's the kind of solid, quiet race that you almost reference when the season is over. You can have your PowerPoint up that you're showing to the teams, and you can say, look, you can see, I was top 5 for X number of races and that kind of thing. It may not equate to a driver of the day vote here today, right now, or people singing his praises on social media at the moment, but that's the kind of result that could absolutely play a big factor when the teams are picking later on down the road.
Yeah, and Vasta Racer, who had to pit in very early in that race, around about lap 2, put on a fresh set of tyres, but he really struggled with that tyre wear towards the end, didn't he?
Yeah, he still picked up points, if I remember correctly. He came home in 9th, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, he picked up points, though. That's a solid result, all things considered. He was the first person into the pits, had the worst tires to have to deal with at the end of the race, and still managed to bring home some championship points in 9th position. That's a solid result, I would say. That's one of those things where you just gotta build off that. You gotta focus on the positives. Focus on the positives. Almost everybody will have some kind of positive to focus on after that race. Again, if I'm their race engineer or something like that, that would be what I'm trying to tell them. Just focus on the positives. You did great. Try to fix any mistakes you may have made.
Yeah, so there you go then, Valentin Bruffer. If you're listening to this stream back, you heard it from Justin. Look at the positives. Look at the positives. I suppose one driver who'll be looking at the positives as well is one of the drivers that finished just outside of the top 10 in Diego Rossi in that Haas there. He started 13th, still got 2 positions up there, but just finishing outside of that first point scoring position of the season.
Yeah, he's going to be looking to turn that around in Shanghai. And, this may be a circuit that he's more familiar with, that he's more comfortable with, that kind of thing. I think when you get a circuit like this that people are more familiar with, then it can really be somebody's strength. And I think we may see a number of people actually do very well here who didn't do so well. I'm a pretty bad driver, as longtime fans will know, but everybody has good and bad tracks.
Well, this is the Chinese Grand Prix then. 5.4 kilometers takes us round. Plenty of undulation changes. All that means then we've got to hand it over to, I think, one of the favourite track maps.
Hi, Kimi Räikkönen, Alfa Romeo Racing Orlen, and I'm going to take you around the lap in Shanghai.
Yeah, I was not that long straight, and the first 2 corners are very difficult. The first corner is very long and hard to get it right. You need to carry speed, and then it tightens a lot. So get the front biting, and then the next left-hander again similar. It's very tight, and then it opens up. So you need to have a good start, because you can lose or gain a lot of lap time. Then it's a decent straight with little kink and hard braking to the hairpin that are usually pretty decent, and then coming over that little hill to the left-right fast corners. The right one, it's fast in the entry, and then you need to slow down in the middle to keep the line for the next left-hander, because it's very easy to lock the front on the entry on the double left-handers. After that little straight, then again tricky braking and easy to lock up and run a little bit wide, because it's need to get a good line to get a good exit on this long back straight, and it's all about getting good momentum out of the first part of that long corner to that straight to make sure you can either overtake or defending in the race. And then second last corner to the long straight is a hard braking and pretty tight hairpin that it's kind of opens up in the end. So you go to the last corner, that is surprisingly fast, how tight the corner is, that you can really push when it's roughly 100 meters to the finish line.
A nice cool lap there from the Iceman, particularly around the Chinese Grand Prix circuit here at the Shanghai International Circuit. And Justin, we've seen how tricky this track can be. Lots of open corners, lots of heavy braking zones, but at the same time, lots of places to all get it wrong with the setup. I'm really looking forward to this one. If there's anything this street circuit of Hanoi taught us, is that at China, there's plenty of opportunities here to maybe make a mistake, but also those unforgiving walls are so far away from the circuit, at least.
Yeah, it's a challenging track, no doubt about it. Again, it offers a variety of corners, but it's also, just like Hanoi, it's got that extremely long straight where you really, really want that top speed, especially if you're going to be starting further back. You really need that overspeed in order to make overtakes and get up into the points, into the top 10, maybe into the podium, that kind of stuff. Again, I do really love this circuit, though. I love 7 and 8. Those are sort of my favorites. I love that 6 is an overtaking location as well, where you can famously lick a stamp and send it and all of that kind of stuff. It's a wonderful, wonderful track. I know it's not everybody's favorite. I know some people really don't like it, especially the really long, like 1 and 2 and 12 and 13. It just feels like they go on and on and on. But for me personally, it's a real treat.
It is, absolutely. As we take you soon to the 16 corners that take us around this Chinese Grand Prix. And of course, Justin, unlike in the first round we just saw, this is one-shot qualifying. They only have one opportunity to make sure that they get the perfect lap time in. How much does that add to the pressure?
Immensely. I mean, oh, good. And that is not the way.
If it couldn't get any worse for these drivers, as we were just saying, the pressure mounts on. Now that they have to try and put through qualifying in what looks like to me intermediate conditions. But here we go then. One-shot qualifying has started, and as we see here, we're seeing Dario make his way down the start-finish straight. Onwards we go towards turn 1, and as of course, if you're familiar with one-shot qualifying, you'll notice the standings there is no point in following them until the final corner. They are all over the place, where drivers are taking different lines and trying to make sure that they get the apex in certain places, but we now tiptoe our way through. I said these look like intermediate conditions. The full wets, the extreme wets are on Dario's car at least, as we now make our way onwards now at the end of the first sector in towards turn 6 into this hairpin here. We've got to be careful on the acceleration there. You can really spin up those rear tyres. And now heading in towards turn 7 and 8. These are normally flying left and right-handers in the drive, but in these wet weather conditions, you really have to tiptoe your way through down to what I believe was third gear there. Now making our way in towards turns 9 and 10. Very tricky part of the circuit. That outside curb looks very tempting, but you can see Dario trying to put the power down. A little bit of oversteer from Yemelo as he makes his way now down towards turn 11. That's the end of sector 2, as once again you're trying to get the car to turn in now through turn 12 and again through turn 13 here. It can get the early apex to try and go full throttle through here, but not like that in these wet conditions. You've really got to feather that throttle as we now make our way down this long kilometre-long back straight. DRS would be open if it were online in these treacherous conditions as we make our way now down towards the heaviest braking point of the circuit in turn 14, braking at the 100-metre board there. You can hear just a slight lock of the tyres there from Dario as he now makes his way on through 15, now on towards the final corner at turn 16, where if you run a little bit over the curb here or a little bit too wide, you can invalidate all that hard work. But here we go across the line. It's going to be Klasani who grabs the pole position then for the Chinese Grand Prix, and Nicolas Klasini with a great lap time in these treacherous conditions will grab pole position.
Wow, that is surprising. Timing in 5th.
Timing in 5th as well, as Matthias outside of that top 10, 13th place. But look how close that grid is. 13 places covered by less than 0.7 of a second. The top 4 covered by less than 1/10 of a second. If you made even one mistake on that lap, say goodbye to your chances of pole position. That is the levels of unforgiveness we're seeing here. If you make a mistake, kiss that pole position goodbye.
Yeah, really difficult conditions out there. So really impressive from Klasani as well to put in that kind of result in those conditions. That is genuinely quite impressive stuff, and I think he's going to be really happy with that one. And certainly, yeah, I mean that puts him in the best possible position. I mean, we'll have to see what the conditions are like for the race itself proper, but I mean, even if it's dry, that's a fantastic way to kick things off, and it is indeed clear blue skies, at least for the start of this race, which, you know, certainly if you just got pole in full wet conditions, you'd probably be hoping for some rain if you're Klasani, but yeah, still, oh man, he's going to be definitely hoping for at least the top 5. You know, certainly if he's thinking in his head, oh, it's only because it was wet, certainly I would be looking for double-digit points to convert that. So, wow, that is impressive stuff, though.
Absolutely. And one thing to remember about this race is because qualifying was on the extreme wet tyres, once this race has been confirmed as dry, which it is, the drivers can start on any tyre they choose. So that can be soft, medium or hard. In a 25% race, it's going to be pretty tricky to try and justify the hard tyres. However, expect to see soft and medium tyres, that variant, all the way through the field as drivers try either, well, I would say the alternate strategy, but both strategies are pretty good because you'll have to use one of each tyre at some point in the race. But we're moments away now from the Chinese Grand Prix and round 2 for the PlayStation 4 drivers as they now make their way onto the grid for the start of the Chinese Grand Prix. But we now count up to the start of this race. It is 5 red lights. We're racing in Shanghai. What are the starts like? Klasani gets a good start, but look at Gil then. He got a great start off the line. Really good launch off the line from Gil. He takes the lead going in towards turn 1. Klasani loses a position there. Dario's having to try and hold on. Timon's going around the outside, but he might have a compromised line as Zach tries to find his way through the field. We now tiptoe away all the way through, making sure you don't make contact through turn 3. Now onwards now towards turn 5 and turn 6. What a start from Gil. The Frenchman is off and away at the head of the field. Now Nardi is up the inside of Zach there. You've also got Vasta Racer who's looking to try and make moves, but Zach there gets the better launch off of turn 6 and manages to keep a hold of that position as we make our way now through that long left-hander. There was a Ferrari running wide there. That was a Vasta Racer trying to find the limits of grip out there possible in these conditions. There goes Javi Vera trying to move up the inside in towards turn 9. Did he get that move done? No, he didn't quite, but you've got the racing point of error then running off the track. Here comes Matthias. Oh, he's lost it. He's lost it completely. Left his braking well too late. And unfortunately, he's collected Dario and he's been awarded a 5-second time penalty on the spot for that one. But I can assume that's going to go to the stewards at some point in this race. But Matthias there tried to brake as late as possible. And this time around, it can't happen.
Oh my gosh, yep. And I was just about to sing his praises. So actually, I may have commentator cursed him without even opening my mouth that time. I just did it mentally. Because Matthias was up 5 positions on that opening lap before that incident that he had at turn 11. Before that incident, he was up 5 positions. Unsurprisingly, he's coming into the pits. Zach is coming into the pits. Nardi is coming into the pits. So they're all into the pits at the end of lap 1. We spoke about this in Vietnam, but before I go nuts on that incident, I just have to say, Guile was 14th in Vietnam, and he is now leading the race. Oh, that is Javi Vera spun around down to 13th position. Last of the cars that hasn't been into the pits. That is terrible for Javi Vera. I keep having points I want to talk about, and then new things are happening. That is so unfortunate, but everything's been flipped on its head.
Absolutely. Gil leading this race by 2.3 seconds ahead of Nicholas Klasani. He's absolutely having a field day out there. Then it's Domi, who is in 3rd place right now. Timon in 4th. Vasta Racer in 5th place. Schumacher up to 6th now with Aero in 7th. Boss in 8th. Name Changer in 9th. And Alvaro rounds out the top 10. That wet weather, one-shot qualifying really has shaken up this field. And the only real person who stayed in the exact position they were at the end of the race at round 1 is Domi. He's still holding on to that 3rd place.
Which is, now that's consistency. When you continue to hold a position right into the next country, that is seriously impressive stuff. Timon is another one of those drivers that is making moves. You can see Dario as well making that position, moving himself into the top 10 actually on Alvaro Aznar. And Guile setting the quickest lap of the race, unsurprisingly there. Again, he does have an almost 3-second gap. He must have a set of the softs on. Hopefully we can bring that graphic up. We can see a lot of these cars are on mediums, though, so I think that may be flattering Guile's pace up at the front. But, I mean, if he's making it work, he's making it work, you know what I mean? Like, now is the time. If he's on the softs and they're on the mediums, now is the time to build that gap as much as he possibly can. And then also when he pits for the mediums, if he is indeed on softs, that would mean that he will be on the freshest, fastest tires for a little while as well too. So he could definitely make this work. He's building a gap. It keeps getting bigger and bigger as well. I think Domi and Klasani might start battling pretty soon here. Having a look at Simo, who actually started from it was 15th or 16th. He was right down at the back in that Alfa Romeo. And thanks to a number of drivers coming into the pits, he now finds himself in 12th position and right on the back of Alvaro Aznar. And, you know, he's within DRS range. Alvaro's within DRS range of Dario, and Dario's in a points-paying position. So it's not looking too bad for Simo here.
Not at all, as he tries to find a way past Alvaro once again, as well, one of the biggest earners in this field is Name Changer. He's up 7 places. He started at the back of this race and now he's up into the points. So Hammerleinen is looking to try and put the woes of Vietnam behind him and come fresh-faced to China to see if he can try and grab some points, as we see the rear wing of Simo there as he tries to chase down that Red Bull of Alvaro up ahead of him, making our way now in towards turn 14. But Gil leads the way then, and he is one of the only drivers, in fact he is the only driver on a set of the soft tyres. Those that pitted in, we've got Zach and Perez there, 14th and 15th, both on the hard tyres, and Matthias has rejoined on a set of mediums. Now mediums to the end, Justin, is it possible?
I mean, I wouldn't want to do it, and it's because of, turns 1, 2, 7, 8, 12, 13. These corners are very punishing. Look at that. You're just loading up that right side. You're getting on the throttle as well. So you're loading up the front right, and then you're loading up the rear right as you get on the throttle at corner exit as well. So, I mean, it's really, really punishing on the tires, this circuit. And again, through here, it just gets even more punishing as they turn high speed, 7th gear through this left-hander. And then you're getting onto the brakes as well. You're decelerating through this right-hander of turn 8. You got the double apexes of 9 and 10 as well, which is loading up the right side. So, yeah, this is one of the last circuits that I would want to pit at the end of lap 1 and try to get to the end. Yeah. But it's not impossible. It's a 25% distance race. They can make it work. It's just not ideal again.
Yeah, absolutely. As Gil continues to extend his advantage, he's got to push as hard as he possibly can, does Gil. He's on the soft tyres. Everybody else behind him is on the mediums. So he's got to try and push as hard as he can, get away from everybody else. And he's got to hope here that drivers like Domi will try and battle with Klasani as we make our way through in towards the last corner. The more they battle behind him, the more chance he has of extending that gap even further. There he is. They're just going out of your picture heading towards turn 1. That is going to be a huge move. If it pays off for Gil and he gets onto a set of medium tyres, then he's got to worry about the drivers behind him all on soft tyres. That's what we're predicting here. So this is really going to be a race of two halves.
It really is, especially for Gil, more so than anybody else, because he really is out of sync compared to the rest of the field. He's doing a fantastic job, though. I think he's made the right call here as well. I have a tiny bit of experience as a race engineer in the virtual world, not in the real world. And certainly I agree with that choice. He was quickest in the wet weather conditions. As Matthias's race just goes from bad to worse. He was already in last place, but he was starting to close up that gap to Falconardi, and I thought maybe we were going to see a fight back from Matthias, but unfortunately that 3-second time penalty is just going to make things even harder for him. So yeah, that's really, really unfortunate for him. Back on board with Domi, though, who is in second position. He's in third position, but he's in second once Guile does eventually come into the pits. Again, though, that Racing Point is going to be probably the quickest car on track when he comes into the pits. So, the first whole half of this race, he's going to be extending that gap. I don't know. I think it looks really good for him. He was good in the wet with the high downforce. He's making the high downforce setup, I think, work for him with the soft compound tires early in this race. I think he's going to have a really, really hard time defending, though, if and when people catch up to him.
Absolutely, as we now make our way onto the 6th lap of this race. Gil does come into the pits then, assuming he's going to put on a set of medium tyres. That will take him to the end of this race. That means then Nicholas Klasani will have the lead of this race. And to confirm, yes, Gil is on a set of medium tyres in that pit lane, and he'll be looking to get those tyres to the end. Domi is right behind the Alfa Romeo as we make our way now down towards the 6th corner of the track. Time and they're in 3rd place. Faster Racer in 4th, Schumacher 5th, Aero 6th, Boss in 7th, Dario in 8th, Name Changer 9th, and Alvaro rounding out that top 10. But Simo's right on the back of him, less than half a second between the two cars there. Riding on board with Domi as he makes his way now in through that flying right-hander of turn 8. This is Domenico Lovece as he now makes his way through 9 and then through turn 10, trying to chase down Nicholas Klasani as we make our way towards the end of the 2nd sector, in through turns 11 and then through the right-hander of turn 12. You've got Time and Shooter right behind. As well as that, you've got in 4th place there Vasta Racer, who obviously got that 9th, 10th place finish in the first round, looking to try and get even more points on the board. Here comes Domi, though. He's going to have a bit of DRS. He's going to be challenging Klasani. Look at this then, moves to the right-hand side and breezes past there, down in towards the hairpin at turn 14. And Domi takes the lead of this race.
I don't think Klasani was interested in defending that position. I think he, turned the engine down, turned the ERS deployment down, all that kind of stuff, and he just let him have the position. We're not even at half distance. That won't happen until just under 1 lap from now. So yeah, there's no point just defending ultra aggressively. You got the 2 VSR drivers behind you, Timon and Vasta Racer. They're lurking in the wings as well too. If you defend aggressively, you may end up losing more positions than you would have done otherwise. So, Name Changer, by the way, in the pits from outside the top 10, he's gonna drop behind Guile as a result of that one. You can see Guile did pit into clean air, but that is That's going to change pretty soon here. He's got Javi Vera, who had that incident earlier on, who's now struggling in 11th position. He's got Javi Vera just up the road. He's going to be quicker. Oh, that's unfortunate for Matthias, who's picked up another penalty, by the way. I'm sorry if I didn't mention that. He picked up another 5-second penalty beyond the one that he got in game. So, yeah, that was a result of the incident. That was a mistake, though. I think, Kieran, we can both agree on that one. Obviously, just missed his breaking point completely. He was having an absolute flyer. He was doing fantastic, and then he made a hash of it. He's got to hold his hands up, accept the penalty, and just move on.
There's Klasani, who's got back the lead at this race, then down in towards turn 14, and what might become a little bit of a who's second in that DRS zone as we head towards the closing stages of this race. And there you'll see drivers go straight on. One of them is Klasani, who now makes his way in towards the pit lane. Of course, about 10 years ago, that used to all be gravel there. Now you can use it to try and widen your approach in towards that pit lane. And of course, it would have been a hard challenge for Matthias. He retired in the pit lane, so he decided to call it a day. As you said, that 5-second penalty on top of what the game had already given him for that incident going in towards turn 11 there. But it's one of those where, yep, he has to hold his hands up and say, look, I was at fault, and just try and get that out of his mind now and move on as much as he possibly can. But Domi leads the way then. It's Timon in second, Vasta Racer in third. Of course, all these drivers now in the top half of the field are yet to pit in this race. Name Changer is one of the first that did pit in. He's in 9th place, and the Finnish driver will be hoping to get some solid points on the board after a tough race in Vietnam.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Guile catching up to Javi Vera as well. So I think that's going to be an overtake we can expect to see pretty soon as well. As we get down into the braking zone for turn 11 through the increasing radius corners of 12 and 13, taking us onto the extremely long DRS straight that takes us all the way down to the overtaking location at turn 14. I don't think Timon's looking to make the overtake here on Domi. I think he is harvesting energy, just looking to set himself up for later in the race for success. Again, that's really what you like to see in a top-level sim racing driver. You don't want to see somebody who's just, putting in quali lap after quali lap. There's that overtake. Guile is, or excuse me, that's actually, that's Guile and Javi Vera. Sorry, I was confused for a second there, but Guile makes it pretty easy. Javi Vera makes it easy for him as well. He's out of sync after that incident earlier on. So Guile's going to continue on. Again, he was one of the earlier stoppers, having started the race on those soft compound tires, making it work though, moves himself back up into the top 5, retakes the lead actually as the rest of the medium runners up at the front come into the pits. Where's Klasani's into the pits? Domi is out of the pits as well too, so it looks like everybody has filtered except for Javi Vera.
Yeah, Javi Vera is yet to pit in this race, or at least try and come in and change onto a set of soft tyres. He's trying to extend his stint, no doubt. With that bit of DRS, he's hoping he can stay within a second of Gil, which is going to be tough because Gil's on fresh medium tyres. Now comes the second half of this race for Gil. He's built up that gap he created on the soft tyres when everyone else was on mediums. Now the second half of this race, he's got to try and keep that gap as high as possible while he's on medium tyres and the rest of the field is on softs. His closest challengers right now, Domi and Klasani. There is Javi Vera trying to make his way now down in towards the final couple of corners through 11 and then through turn 12. He's a little bit out of sync at the moment, as Justin alluded to. Still yet to make a mandatory stop in this race as he flies his way through turn 13. And does he have a little bit of DRS? Do we see that rear wing open? I don't think we're going to, Oh, yes, we do. There we go. So he gets a little bit of DRS. Maybe he was trying to hold out, maybe thinking, you know what, that little bit of extra straight, that little bit of DRS might help me buy some time. But you get a little bit sidetracked there with the amount of grip you lose out there as Boss now gets a move done. There is, that's Timon trying to make his move there. Schumacher locking up big time in towards turn 14. Managed to recover it though, but now he's got snapping at his rear wing. It's Timon making his way now down the start-finish straight onwards towards turn 1. Not normally a place you would overtake here, but if you can try and go side by side, you can certainly cause a spectacle. Now making our way through turn 2 and then all right riding on board now with time as he makes his way through turn 3, taking a wider entrance into the corner to try and focus on getting the power down earlier than Schumacher. And it looks like that plan might come together if he can try and get a nose up the inside, which he can't. Schumacher managing to hold on there. Timon still in 5th place, looking for a way past this McLaren. But Gil then leads the way with 5 to go, 4 and a bit if you're picky. Domi in 2nd, Klasani in 3rd, Schumacher 4th, Timon 5th, Vastaracer in 6th, Aero 7th, Boss in 8th, Dario 9th, and Name Changer rounding out the top 10.
Impressive stuff from Gil. He's maintaining that gap pretty well. At the end of this lap, there's going to be 10 laps to go, which means Domi's going to be looking at 9/10 roundabout per lap that he needs to be gaining on Gil in order to close down that gap. Of course, it gets a little bit easier as you get within 1 second with the use of DRS and all that kind of stuff, but that's just some rough maths. But really what Gil needs at this point is for all of these guys in the top 6, 7, or 8 even to start battling one another. Because if Domi and Klasani can start battling each other, that is going to be very beneficial for Gil, especially if they're going side by side through like 1 and 2 or 7 and 8, corners where they're really slowing each other down. When they go side by side into that turn 14 hairpin, they're not losing a ton of time by going side by side through there. It's such a wide open corner. There's a number of lines, all that kind of good stuff. But if they start going side by side through this kind of stuff here, that is going to be nothing but good news for Gil, as Domi actually gets that gap down now to less than 3 seconds. So it is coming down, less than 4 laps to go. But Gil, I think, is doing everything he needs to do. I think he's, balancing that maintain the gap, maintain the tires kind of thing, because he doesn't want the guys behind to catch him. But at the same time, if they do catch him, he's going to want some rubber on those tires in order to defend with.
He is indeed. But have a look at the last lap times though. Gil, 1:31.7 was his last lap time. Domi, 1:31.4. So 3/10 he cut that gap down by. That's simply not enough. It's simply not enough. Klasani has the fast lap of the race. He did a 1:31.2. But now he's behind Domi. That's even without DRS. He's 1.3 behind him. I think for all of them, they're going to have to try and put in laps of their lives. But obviously, they can only deploy the ERS at certain points on the track. You can only use a certain amount of it. And even then, you have to recharge it. The best place to do that is down in towards turn 14. We're watching Timon here, who's trying to get back past Schumacher, but Schumacher here has got a battle on his hands because he's pulled all the way to the outside there as he's trying to go side by side with Klasani battling away for 3rd place on the exit of 14. Now through 15, the McLaren couldn't find his way through, and Klasani manages to hold on to 3rd place at the moment. But Schumacher is on a charge here, making our way now on towards turn 1 once again, down this short start finish straight, short in comparison to other circuits anyway, as you fly into this right-hander now, right on the back of Klasani is Schumacher looking for a move up the inside. Sometimes you can try and stick a nose up the inside in towards turn 2 and just make your presence known, but not this time. Through turn 3 and then through turn 4, and of course it's Marcel Olstadt driving this McLaren, now making our way through 5 and towards the braking zone at turn 6. And you can see there that Schumacher not only is on the attack to try and get past Klasani, but he realizes the threat from Timon behind him and takes a slightly narrower line towards turn 6 to make sure to send the message to Timon, look, don't try a move.
This is really interesting, seeing how this is all playing out. Gil is now within view of Domi, and Domi is pulling quite the gap to Klasani, so it's looking like potentially on next lap or the lap after this, it may come down to just Gil versus Domi for the lead of this race, and Klasani might have to just deal with Schumacher and Timon and Vasta Racer. Again, Aero's still in there. I'm gonna probably commentator curse the entire field right now though and say that nobody has a penalty, which is incredible with 2 laps to go.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, much better pace from Domi in these closing stages. His last lap time, 31.7, whereas the leader in Gil, 32.6. So that's, 9/10 of a second, in fact. It's actually getting pretty close there. Again, last lap time from Gil, 1:32.5. Last lap from Domi, 1:32.1. 4/10 of a second with 2 laps to go. That mountain is getting ever higher.
Yeah, I don't think the softs are gonna, and I don't think the softs are gonna be doing too good either. That's when you're going on this alternate strategy, you really want to catch the medium runner early in the stint as much as you can, because those softs are really starting to wear, especially if you're in traffic like this. We're on board with the Racing Point of Aero, who is just, this is now a Klasani train. This is absolutely fantastic, which by the way, that is a compliment to Clasani. Again, started from pole position. I said if he can convert this into a top 5 finish, that's a success. Well, he is holding on to that final podium position and keeping Schumacher and Tymon behind, and that is a serious achievement for him. If Clasani can hang on to that third, contender for driver of the day for me.
Well, he's going to have to do a lot of work on his hands because he's got a whole field snapping at his heels. And one of the worst parts of the circuit to try and defend down this long back straight, kilometre-long back straight down towards turn 14. You can just see in the distance there that Clasani has to go all the way to the right-hand side. The problem with that then, the whole field behind you then tries to grab you at what's left of your slipstream. As there you can see, Vastracer thinks about a move up the inside of Tymon. Then Tymon, in turn, thinks about a move up the inside of Schumacher into 14. Both of them back out of that one and hold the fort for now as we make our way towards that final corner. Blasting our way now on towards the final lap of this race. Gil leading by 1.5 seconds there from Domi, but Clasani is going to do everything he can to try and hold on to this last podium position. 5 cars involved in this one, and really any one of them could win it. There you can see Tymon getting a little wide in towards turn 2, and Vastracer almost being egged on by Aero to say, look, take the line, but he didn't, and Vastracer holds back for now, maybe waiting for a more better opportunity. Tymon meanwhile looking at Schumacher. He's looking at the same down the inside of Clasani, but again, nowhere to go for any of these cars right now. But they know if the driver ahead makes a mistake, you've got to be there to capitalize on it. As we now fly away through the final kilometers now, through turn 7, through turn 8 we go, and then towards that braking zone towards turn 9 as you try and keep away, try and keep that wheel spin all under control now through turn 10 as we make our way towards now what will be the final sector of this race, as Gil still leads then 1.2 ahead of Domi, barring any big mistakes. It looks like it's going to be a win for Gil, but look at this, Vastracer looking for a move up the inside of Tymon, but still can't find that way through the long right-hander, but then runs wide on the exit. Is that an opportunity for Aero? Well, he's going to be compromised, the Ferrari, down this long back straight. This is an invitation for Aero, surely, to try and grab 6th place. Vastracer defends to the inside as much as he can as we head our way down towards turn 14. There's a little bit of contact, but there, the Aero car tries to find a way through. No way through for him, and Schumacher has got the move done on Clasani. Meanwhile, Gil takes the lead and takes the win of the Chinese Grand Prix. Domi ahead of him. Schumacher making the move on Clasani down in towards turn 14 and grabs that podium ahead of the Alfa Romeo. It's Tymon 5th, Aero 6th, Vastracer 7th, Bossin 8th, Dario 9th, Alvaro rounding out the top 10, and race 2 winner, the Frenchman who got the alternate strategy all perfect. Started on the softs, built the lead, got onto the mediums, held the lead, and he does win race number 2. Guillaume Darunia, your race winner for the Chinese Grand Prix.
I got to give him driver of the day as well too. That was really, and again, the game has decided Schumacher is driver of the day. No. The game isn't factoring in that result from Hanoi, because again, Gil was 14th in Vietnam at the end of the race. He really impressed me though with the way that he drove side by side. Again, as I mentioned, but in case anybody missed that. I was really impressed with Gil, the way that he went side by side in Vietnam. He didn't have a great result, but I liked the way that he was driving. And to see this result after that kind of praise it makes me really, really happy, because we know that he's capable of some really clean and respectful side by side racing. So it's great to see him have that kind of lights to flag victory. I mean, that's beautiful. Great stuff.
Well, here are your official, unofficial results then for the Chinese Grand Prix. Your top 3, Guillaume Darunia, Domenico Lavecce, who grabs 2 podiums out of 2 so far in this season, and Schumacher, who is, of course, Marcel Olstadt. That's your top 3 at the moment. 11th to 3rd for Olstadt. What a result for him. Clasani in 4th, Tymon in 5th, Aero 6th, Vastracer 7th, Boss in 8th, Dario 9th, Alvaro rounding out the top 10. Then it's Simo in 11th, Name Changer in 12th, Javi Vera got the fastest lap, but only good enough for 13th place in this race. Zach in 14th, Nardi in 15th, with Matthias, one of the only non-finishers in this race. Well, I have to say, Justin, it was a mighty fine battle for 3rd place at the end of it there. 5 cars all within a shout of grabbing that final podium position. In the end, Marcel Olstadt from 11th on the grid to 3rd. What a drive from the German.
Yeah, that's really impressive stuff. Great way to get yourself noticed. And he was another one, actually, who really stuck out for me at Hanoi for having clean side-by-side. You know, he's good in a dogfight, which I always love to see. I don't know how many teams are looking for that, but certainly I would if I were looking for a driver. You know, I want somebody that's capable of going side-by-side, who's not going to crack under pressure when they've got another car alongside them. And Schumacher proved in Hanoi that he could go side by side. He can make overtakes. He can find those opportunistic moves and make it work. And he proved here today in China that he's got the pace to finish on the podium. And you know, going back to what I was talking about earlier, before we even got into this race, it's all about that early momentum and feeling that confidence in yourself. And all that kind of stuff, and that's exactly what Schumacher is going to have. That's exactly what Gil is going to have as well too. And as you said, Domi, the only one that was on the podium for both races. That's a huge thing to build on. Even you know, I would say Matthias, who had that issue again. Huge positives for him too. I think everybody did fantastic. It's tough to say if this is the best grid we've had ever in the F1 Esports Series Challengers, you know, after just one race, but it's a contender. That was some good stuff.
Absolutely, and in that race, I have to say, there was only 2 drivers that held their position from where they qualified on. That was Timon in the Mercedes, and I believe Vasta Racer as well, holding 7th place. Everybody else changed their position at some point in this race, and that just showed you that wet qualifying really shook up the entire field.
It really did. It made things very interesting. I was really glad to see some precipitation nice and early as well too, because I remember there's been previous seasons where I felt like we were waiting, and finally at the end of the season we get some rain. And you know, I don't like to see it rain all the time, but it just mixes things up and it shows you who's got those skills. And to see it in the one-shot qualifying too made things extra interesting. And it was so close as well, too, to see how close it was. I think, like, the top 9, it was, like, less than 3/10 or something like that. Like, really, really, really close stuff that we've seen from these PS4 guys. And I think we could expect to see even more of that later on in the week.
Yes, absolutely. And as you touched on there, Domenico Lavecce, 2 podiums out of 2. I mean, that's some impressive performances. Yes, teams will be looking at the wins in this one, but the consistent podiums will really help you not only in making a mark on a team, but also in your championship standings. Yeah,
it's going to help massively. And again, you know, it's confidence, and that's just racing. That's not esports. That's any sort of competition, any type of sport, whether electronic or not. You know, you really want to get that early momentum. And it's going to be absolutely huge, and especially for the rookies as well. I'm kind of repeating things here, but again, for the rookies, even more important to feel good after that first day.
Yeah, and it's always good to get the first day out of the way, the first 2 races out of the way. And unfortunately, we won't see the PS4 drivers until next month. We've got to waste a whole month to see the PS4 drivers take on the Netherlands and Austria. But between you and me, Justin, and between all the people watching, we get to do it all again tomorrow, but only this time with the Xbox drivers.
Yeah, exactly right. The grid that I'm a little bit more familiar with, I've done a lot of commentating on Xbox drivers for various F1 games over the years. I've seen a lot of guys come and go. There are some familiar names, some new names as well. And, you know, the new names are kind of what's almost more exciting when it comes to challengers, learning about these new guys. We've already learned about some pretty impressive new drivers here today on PS4, though.
We have indeed, and one of those seems to be the Italian in Lavecce. Now, it's 2 races. It's very early to say who could be a favourite for the title. From most of the drivers I've spoken to, they're all considering each other rivals going into this one because they're going to be similar on pace. And it's hard to say that they're not after watching races like this, especially with a wet qualifying to shake up the order. Does that sort of make it clear who could be drivers to watch for this one?
Yeah, so I think, for example, in China, with Timon kind of getting stuck a little bit. Now, he was in that DRS train. That makes things very difficult when the car ahead of you is getting DRS and slipstream as well. It makes things very difficult, no doubt about it. But we saw that because of how close it was. So, you know, that first qualifying in Hanoi, oh God, a 10th from Timon to the rest of the field. You know, everybody's worried that he's going to pull a Lewis Hamilton and just, you know, win the constructors all on his own. But no, we saw that in China. one wet qualifying, and he's stuck down in 5th come the end of the race. He did drive a very good race. I have to say, Timon, he wasn't driver of the day or anything like that, but he kept points, damage limitation. He did the best that he could, but at the same time, it showed that this field is so close that on any given day it could be anybody's race. Again, Gil, 14th in Vietnam, 1st in China.
Yeah, and that's a good way to put some points on the board, really, isn't it, for Gil? He's gone out there at China, where he was probably favourite to win the race, Justin, and showed that just being on a different strategy, a slightly different strategy, can prove all the world wrong about, well, at least prove me wrong anyway, about that alternate strategy. We saw many people start on the medium tyres. We saw Gil risk it, go onto the soft tyres, build the lead at the start, and hey, it worked.
I think he had the right call. As I mentioned during the race, I think he thought, right, high downforce, wet conditions, I was extremely quick. Let's continue that trend, throw on the softs at the beginning, build that gap. I have no idea what the cars behind are going to do, but some of them are definitely going to go for the mediums, no doubt about it. I think he really thought about that one and made the right call. I think softs were the right call on that one. I think for a lot of people, going on to the mediums would have been the right call. But when he showed that pace in the wet with the high downforce, he said, let's maximize our pace in the corners. He checked on the softs, built that gap at the beginning when there is no DRS, and, cruised, I don't want to say cruised, but, went home for the victory. It was really, really impressive drive.
Yeah, I dread to see one day on the steering wheel that the drivers have a cruise control setting on there. And I can say, Justin, you were right. But anyway, just picking out a couple of more drivers. Hammerleinen, he struggled to begin with. He finished 12th in that last race. And it's always a bit of a kick in the gut when you leave the first night without any points. But to the drivers who haven't maybe had it all their way so far, what would you say to them?
There's more time between now and the next race than there was between the preseason and this race. So there's more time to practice, to put in the laps. If you're in a team, like Chizou or CRG or VSR or one of those, you have some time to work on your setups with your other teammates and stuff like that. So yeah, if things didn't go well this way, first of all, those are two very different tracks. Hanoi and Shanghai, very, very different tracks compared to what we're going to be seeing. So, yeah, you definitely got to think about the future. And again, you have more time between now and the next race than they had leading up to this race after the preseason race. So, I think working hard is the answer to that one. Unless you're absolutely mega at one of the next tracks, you're just an absolute alien around there going 0.3 quicker than everybody else or something. Then you could just relax until January. But for everybody else, it's gonna be putting in a lot of laps.
Absolutely. And as you rightfully said, we couldn't have come to tracks that had such a polar opposite, Vietnam and China. Really does demand so much from the drivers heading their way through, but I think they handled it really, really well. The next tracks they face are the Netherlands and Austria, two high-octane tracks for the PS4 drivers coming up next month. I mean, how do you prepare for those two? Because you've got the Dutch Grand Prix, which is admittedly quite narrow, but lots of banking to help you carry speed through the corners. Then you've got Austria, and I think Austria is going to be one of those places where if you're in second place, you've got the best chance of winning, so long as you're a second behind the leader.
Yeah, I'm in particular especially looking forward to Austria, especially after the races that we saw in 2020 in the real life Formula One. It's going to be a good one. But it's very different circuits compared to what we saw today. And Zandvoort is coming back to Formula One after being gone for so long. So first time in the Codemasters F1 games. So it's kind of new to the drivers. So it's sort of similar to Hanoi in terms of the amount of experience people have with that track heading into the race. But then Austria is something that people are familiar with, but also was, it's sort of similar situation actually. Wasn't on the calendar until quite recently. But when you have as much racing as these guys do on the Codemasters F1 games, you can bet these guys are very comfortable with all of the circuits, but even Austria, which has been, in the last couple of games now, these guys are doing league races, they're doing open lobbies online, they're doing career for some of them, they're doing all sorts of stuff. So they're going to feel very comfortable with both of those, especially compared to Vietnam.
Absolutely. And of course, it's all about making it into the top 6 by showing the teams at the top that you have the resilience, you have the pace, and you have the consistency as well. So if drivers are walking away, they haven't got a race win yet, or if drivers have not had a great first race, but a better second race, the journey is far from over, Justin.
Yep. It's a long season. We're 2 races in. We got 8 to go for these guys, so there's plenty of opportunities for not just for them to, come back after a bad weekend, but there's also plenty of opportunities for other people to have bad weekends, and with the variety of circuits as well too. It's very possible. We've seen people struggle in the past. Nobody is bulletproof. No driver is bulletproof. So, you just gotta keep that laser focus. Put in those laps for the next race and hope for the best.
Yeah, and we'll see how they get on next month when we go to the Netherlands and Austria. In terms of the next races, though, Justin, we get to have the pleasure of seeing the Xbox drivers tackle Vietnam and China tomorrow night, 7 p.m. GMT. And then on Wednesday night, what a Christmas treat we've got. They've got PC racing around Vietnam and China as well. So action-packed races. And if pre-season taught us anything, is that as the week goes on, well, we saw in the test race that the gaps became much more tighter at the top of the table.
Yeah, it's going to be good. And the racing, too. Again, you learn things. Certainly, if I'm the Xbox or PC guys, I would be looking at what Gil did today and thinking, right, if it's wet qualifying and a dry start and I'm on pole position, the softs may not be such a bad decision. That may actually be a pretty fair shout. So, you pick up small things like that. They would have been paying attention to when people pit as well, coming in on lap 7 versus lap 8. If you started on the mediums, what kind of difference is that going to make? Is it easier to undercut or overcut? Because, different strategies and different tracks are going to provide that kind of variation. And that's the kind of stuff that these guys are going to be looking for. I can pretty much guarantee you almost every single one of the Xbox and PC drivers was watching today's broadcast. Almost every single one of them.
Oh, absolutely. But what wouldn't have helped them was that wet qualifying, because at the start of that dry race, the driver's got to choose any tyre they liked. So it's not quite an accurate way of saying, oh, this is how long the first stint is going to be. But I think the drivers will be trying to subtract 1, maybe 2 laps from that initial one, because obviously they'll be starting on a set, or if it doesn't rain for them, of course, on a set of those used soft tyres. But when we come to it, Justin, we're waffling on. The standings are coming. Don't worry. If you're sticking around for those, you will be rewarded. I promise you that. But we're just getting those results finalised, and we'll bring them to you as soon as we can. But I have to say, from what the PS4 has shown us so far this season, Justin, I think we're in for a good 5 months of some great racing. We've got 30 races to cover. I mean, sign me up for even more after that. I'm happy to go on.
I feel like the esports F1 scene actually evolves quicker than the real F1 in terms of the drivers. Like, every year there's just a new standard, and every year there is a shocking number of drivers meeting that standard. You know what I mean? It's just absolutely incredible. You see people like Jarno Opmeer come in and set a new benchmark in the Pro Series and stuff like that. And these guys in the F1 Esports Series Challengers, they're watching that, they're seeing it, and they are doing everything that they can to be prepared for that, because you can bet that they are thinking ahead. These guys are falling asleep at night, not just thinking about month 2 of Esports Series Challengers. They're thinking about the challenge when they inevitably get to the Pro Series. They're thinking about every eventuality, preparing for the pinnacle level. And again, for pretty much all of them, this is the pinnacle level for them. This is as far as they've gotten. This is the hardest it's ever been, and it's going to be really interesting to see who meets that challenge.
Absolutely, as we call it, challenges. There you go. It's all making sense now, Justin. It is all making sense.
It's all
connecting together. It is all connected somehow. But yeah, you get to that point where you're racing in esports and you're almost dreaming as if you're hot lapping a circuit multiple times. You do the hot laps when you're awake, and then whilst you're asleep, you think, well, actually, I could buy a tenth there, or I could gain half a tenth here. It never stops for these drivers, and that's why they're just able to get so much pace out of these cars, out of the tyres, and to have so much performance out of them in a 25% race going towards the end is nothing short of fantastic.
Yeah, an impressive group of drivers. I can say that already. We're only 2 races, 1 day into the 2021 season. I know it's still 2020, but it's the 2021 season that we're into now, and already one of the best batches, if not the best batch. I think that will, only time will tell on that one. We'll have to see the full season to tell if this really is the best batch, but we're off to a great start. And it looks like we're off to a great ending here of this stream as well, as we're finally going to get those results. There they are.
We are indeed. So for the first time, we get to see those confirmed results then. So Timon Shooter gets those 25 points ahead of Javier Perez. Domenico Lavecchi got that podium with Nicholas Clasidi in 4th place, Isaac Hajar in 5th, with Matthias Van Erven in 6th place, Bernardo Perez in 7th, Dario Yemelo in 8th place, Duncan Hoffman 9th, and Valentin Bruffa rounding out the top 10 for those drivers at Hanoi. And I believe no real changes there from what we were expecting at the end of that race. So a good 25 points there for Timon will help him on his championship standings going in towards next month, and we'll see what happens at China and see then how much that really affects that championship going forward. There's just the rest of the Hanoi results there with Diego Rossi, Simeone Iamotti, Marcel Olstad, Guillaume Darunia, Alvaro Asnar and Vila Hammerleinen, who Asnar and Hammerleinen retired from the race in Hanoi. So Darunia was the last of the finishes there in 14th place. To take you through then round 2 of the championship, well, Guillaume Darunia finished 14th in the first race, got the win in China. 25 points well earned for him. Domenico Lavecchi in 2nd place. Marcel Oldstadt scoring his first points of the season in 3rd place. Nicholas Clasidi in 4th with Timon Shooter in 5th. Duncan Hoffman 6th. Valentin Bruffa in 7th with Diego Rossi scoring his first points of the season. So too did Dario Yemelo in 9th place, and Alvaro Asnar again in that Red Bull scoring a point on the board. And yeah, as we've already said, Justin, looking at the rest of the standings there, Iamotti in 11th place, Hammerleinen 12th, Javier Perez 2nd place last time out in the Vietnamese Grand Prix, 13th place this time around, Isaac Hajar in 14th, and Bernardo Perez in 15th place, with Matthias Van Erven not finishing that Chinese Grand Prix. And rub your hands together, drum roll please, because we're about to find out what that means to our overall championship standings when we get all the maths together. I'm glad someone else does the maths, because if we've seen me in the past and maths, they just unfortunately just don't go together. But what I will say is those two podium finishes for Domenico Lavecchi will go heavily in his favour going in towards next month. Will it be enough though for that championship lead? Just a bit of quick filler before we see those overall standings, Justin. Who are you expecting to see at the top of the table there?
The race winners and Domenico. Honestly, those easy. Yeah, those are the ones that certainly I'm going to be looking for. And after that is going to be the podium sitters, the single podium sitters, excuse me, that didn't pick up 2 like Domenico did. It looks like we are still going to get it. I think we are still going to get it, but yeah, we're just waiting an extra minute for those results, so we can see those championship standings before we head out to round out. Before we say arrivederci.
Ah, very nice, very nice. That's nice. Unfortunately, there's no Italian Grand Prix coming up next, but that would have worked otherwise. Anyway, well, we have to say though, 2 great rounds so far in PS4. Don't forget to tune in 7 p.m. Greenwich Mean Time once again tomorrow and on Wednesday as well, when we tune in to see the Xbox drivers and PC drivers let loose around the 2 circuits to see what they can do out on track. And remember, it is the top 6 drivers in this championship, once all 10 races have been completed, that will then progress through to the next round. And Justin, you've seen drivers progress through here. Any drivers catching your eye so far in PS4?
Yeah. There's definitely a number of drivers that I would say Matthias, again, despite the difficult result that he had in China, I think he's definitely one to watch. Gil, I'm not so sure, because again, he had that 14th first, but then he had that race win. I mean, that's a tough one. But Timon, he was in the top 5 and picked up a win. Domi with the 2 podiums as well. Schumacher's another kind of question mark, kind of like Gil. He had that good result, and then he had a not as good result. So a bit of a question mark on that one. But yeah, I would say Domi and Timon maybe are the ones that are kind of sticking out at the moment at the most, just because they had the consistency.
Well, they did, didn't they? And that's what's going to prove to be the picking point for the drivers up in the higher standings of the championship, is that yes, you can have some good results, but you need to be consistent with them as well, as we saw from Lavecce getting those 2 podiums. I am expecting for him to be at the top of the standings, because if I'm trying to work it out in my head, which is dangerous, don't try this at home, but if I'm working it out, he scored 18 and 50. Yeah, that's man. I'm not going to try that. I'm going to leave it to the experts. But I am expecting Lavecce with those 2 podiums to be ahead of Timon with the win and the 5th place. That's how I'm trying to work it out. So we'll have a see.
Oh,
we'll see if it's confirmed.
No, Timon would be 2 points ahead, actually. Yeah, because Timon would be on 35. Yeah, and Domi would be on 33. Unless there's any sort of fastest lap things, but I don't think there is. And then Gil would be on 25 because he didn't score points in Hanoi. So
I'm gonna act like I'm working it out. So
right.
I cover that I don't actually.
That was good panto. That was good panto. I'm impressed.
Oh no, it wasn't. Oh dear.
By my standards, it was.
By your standards, maybe. So yeah, let's talk more about what the PS4 drivers have to face next time around, because we've already seen what the likes of Vietnam and what the likes of China are going to be. But how about when we get to the likes of Zandvoort and the likes of Spielberg? What kind of races are we expecting there?
I don't know at Zandvoort, to be totally honest. I'm really not sure what to expect there. I've got some experience driving around there in other sim racing games, but I mean, I don't believe I've ever done a commentary there. I hadn't done one for Hanoi either, though, before today, so that was a first as well.
You didn't get lost. That's a good thing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think I did a pretty good job of remembering where I was. So, but Austria is a good one. I like in Austria, you can make it work into turn 1. Also, I believe Austria has 8 corners, and I will die on that hill fighting anybody that argues otherwise. Wikipedia, I'm looking at you, Wikipedia. You are not right. That turn 2 is, I mean, maybe it's got 10 corners for MotoGP, but not for Formula 1. So it's different.
We can argue all night about that. What's important though is that there you go. So not what we were expecting though, Justin. It's Timon Shooter who is at the top of the table then on 35 points, ahead of Javier Perez on 33. Then it is Domenico Lavecce with those 2 podiums. In 3rd place, Nicolas Clasani, Isaac Hajer, Matthias Van Erven, Bernardo Perez, Dario Yemelo, Duncan Hofland and Valentin Bruffer rounding out the top 10. So the top 6 there looking pretty close indeed, especially towards the pointy end of the table. Bernardo Perez and Dario Yemelo there, both on the same points, both on 10 points. Then going towards the bottom of the table, Diego Rossi scoring his first points last time out. Simeone Yamotti in 12th place, Marcel Olstadt in 13th place, Guillaume Darunia in 14th, and Asnar and Hammerleinen yet to score points in this championship so far. So those are the results we have so far at this moment, Justin. As we move into what will be the Xbox races tomorrow night, can we expect more of the same?
Yeah. I'm definitely expecting more excitement from both of the platforms this week. We've really seen in the past, and just to quickly touch on that, there's only minor differences between the various platforms in terms of what you're going to see in terms of action and the closeness and stuff like that. It's very, very similar. And what we've seen in the Pro Series is when you throw all these guys from the various platforms together, they're very similar on pace. We've seen people from every platform getting, having tremendous success in the Pro Series, PC drivers, Xbox drivers, PS4 drivers, which is what we love to see. The poll time might be slightly different, but yeah, it's going to be exciting.
It is going to be exciting. And those eagle-eyed of you will notice that the standings were slightly a little bit wrong.
Yeah, Gil was missing a lot of points. I noticed that part. Gil was missing a lot of points for someone who won a race.
Don't worry, we'll be sorted for tomorrow when we have our little race review of last time out. We'll bring you the correct scores at
Follow the social media if you want to be updated. Follow at Formula One Game.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. There you go. At Formula One Game. Yeah, you see, Justin's done this before, you see. Perfect plugs all the way through. But yes, a fantastic display so far in this championship for the PS4 side. We get to see the Xbox side challenge in Vietnam and in China tomorrow at 7 o'clock Greenwich Mean Time, so do join us for then as well. From myself, Kieran McGinley, and from Justin Sutton alongside, it's been a pleasure to bring you this action. Please take care of yourselves, and we will see you next time. Good night.